You've felt it, haven't you? That quiet drift between who you are and who you promised yourself you'd become. It doesn't happen in a storm, it happens in silence. One excuse, one delay, one small betrayal of your own potential. And suddenly, you're a stranger to your own discipline. But what if the way back isn't through motivation or noise, but through stillness? The Stoics believed that strength is not built in public. It's forged in silence, through small daily acts of mastery. This is not about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you were meant to be, calm, focused, unshaken. In this journey, you'll rediscover the 8 Stoic practices that rebuild the mind, sharpen the body, and liberate the soul. If you're tired of drifting, if you're ready to rise again, not loudly but quietly, this message is for you. Because the comeback doesn't start with applause. It starts with one moment of honesty with yourself. You don't notice it at first. The drift happens slowly, almost kindly. It disguises itself as rest. One morning you hit snooze instead of rising. One promise to yourself quietly fades into tomorrow. One excuse feels harmless until it becomes your language. You stop keeping score because deep down you know you're losing. And then one day, you wake up and realize that your life still looks the same, but your spirit has gone missing. You've become efficient, perhaps even successful, but not alive. The voice that once demanded more from you has gone silent, replaced by the hum of comfort and the endless noise of distraction. The Stoics warned of this decay of the soul. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At some point you must stop wandering. You're not going to read your own principles in another book, or find your peace in another distraction." He was right. You don't need new knowledge. You need remembering. The truth is, you haven't lost your strength. It's simply untrained. The muscles of your will have grown soft. The discipline that once defined you has been replaced by convenience. But you can return, not by becoming someone new, but by stripping away what never belonged to you in the first place. This isn't about grand gestures or radical change. It's about one decision repeated quietly until it becomes who you are again. Discipline, presence, and the courage to begin. These are your tools. If this message finds you restless, take it as a sign. You don't need more time. You need to start, not tomorrow, not next week, now. If this voice speaks to something deep in you, stay with me. Subscribe, not for me, but for yourself, so you don't lose this momentum. The Stoics believed the body was not a prison, but a partner. They trained it not for vanity, but for mastery. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Discipline your body so it never betrays your mind." Think of how often the body rebels. You plan to wake early, but your hand silences the alarm. You promise yourself a run, but comfort whispers, "Stay." You decide to read, but your fingers scroll instead. Each small surrender teaches your body that it leads, and your mind follows. To reverse, that is to reclaim sovereignty. Physical discipline isn't punishment, it's a declaration, "I am in charge here." A cold shower, a run before sunrise, a meal chosen with intention. These are not tasks, they are acts of remembrance. Every drop of sweat, every moment of restraint, teaches your mind the language of control. Seneca once wrote that training the body teaches the soul endurance. When you resist the impulse of comfort, you are rehearsing strength for life itself. Because life is not kind. It will test you when you least expect it. And if you've trained only for ease, you'll collapse when resistance comes. So use the body as your teacher. Let fatigue sharpen your will. Let hunger remind you of gratitude. Let discomfort become your forge. Every day, return to that training ground, not to impress anyone, but to master the only thing that's truly yours, yourself. We live in a flood of information and a drought of understanding. We scroll endlessly, mistaking quantity for wisdom. The Stoics warned against this centuries ago. Seneca said, "You must read not many books, but good ones." The same applies to thoughts, conversations, and people. You can consume endlessly and still starve. True wisdom begins when you stop grazing and start digesting. Take one lesson, one truth, one phrase, and live with it until it reshapes your thinking. I used to read for pleasure. Now I read for transformation. One passage from Epictetus can outlast 100 self-help books if you take it seriously. When he wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters," he didn't mean it as inspiration. He meant it as instruction. So slow down. Choose depth over speed. Instead of collecting insights, apply one. Write it down, reflect on it, fail with it, return to it. Each time you practice, it becomes a part of you. Because knowledge doesn't change your life, application does. The Stoics didn't talk their philosophy. They lived it. They trained their minds the way soldiers train for war, with repetition, precision, and humility. Every distraction is a thief. It doesn't just steal your time. It steals your potential. The world wants your attention because attention is power, and the one who controls it controls you. You tell yourself you're just checking your phone, but it's not a habit, it's submission. The Stoics understood this before smartphones existed. They practiced silence, solitude, single-tasking. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Concentrate every minute on doing what's in front of you with precise seriousness." Focus isn't easy. It's war. Every time you sit to work, the world tempts you with noise. Every ping, every alert, every opinion pulls you from yourself. But here's the truth. Peace doesn't come from quiet surroundings. It comes from a disciplined mind. To focus is to rebel. It's to declare that your time is sacred, that your life is not an open tab for others to spend. So create a fortress of silence. Guard your attention like treasure, because it is. When you master focus, you master freedom. You stop chasing and start creating. You stop reacting and start choosing. And in that stillness, clarity returns. There comes a moment when the noise fades, and you meet yourself again, not the version shaped by others, but the one you buried beneath distraction. You realize the strength you were searching for was never gone. It was only waiting. This is the Stoic return, not to comfort, but to character. Not to ease, but to excellence. You don't need a new life. You need to live this one fully. Discipline isn't restriction, it's liberation. When you command your habits, you command your destiny. When you stop negotiating with weakness, you begin to rise. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." So start, not dramatically, not publicly, but quietly. Drink a glass of water, breathe deeply, turn off the noise. Do the next right thing, then another, then another. And as you do, you'll notice something subtle. The fire returns. The distance between who you are and who you were meant to be begins to close. You remember what it feels like to be whole. This is the Stoic way, not to wait for the world to change, but to change your response to it. To walk calmly through chaos. To rebuild yourself in silence. If this message found you, it's because you were meant to hear it. Subscribe, not for me, but for yourself. Because every lesson from this moment forward will be another step toward the self you lost and the one you're ready to become.